Okay, call to order. What do we got here? It says closed session, but regular closed session and regular meeting of the Bloomfield Schools Board of Education. Today is December 15, 2022. It is 4:30 p.m. Trustee Malik, could you take attendance?
Yes. Mr. Barron, Mr. Colin, Mr. Van Gamert, and myself are present.
Okay, under number 2, do I have a motion? We do.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move that for a closed session per MCL 15.268, Section 8A, evaluation of the superintendent, I move that the Board of Education, sorry, I'm repeating myself here, convene a closed session in accordance with MCL 15.268, Section 8A, to discuss the 2022 evaluation of the superintendent.
Second.
Howard?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Jennifer?
Yes.
That's 4. That's all we need. We will return at 6 p.m. 6:30. 6:30. This is reconvene and call to order for the regular meeting of the Bloomfield Hills School Board of Education. It is 6:30. Trustee Malik, can you take attendance?
All board members are present, including Dr. Michelle Southward. Congratulations on achieving your doctorate this week.
I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, 4 is celebrating successes, boys tennis team, state champs. Paul?
Can everyone hear me? Yeah, it's fine. So I'm here. We're here tonight to recognize the boys tennis team accomplishments. You know, I'm just going to say a few words. I know throughout the season, I've said enough on social media about the team, but I think, I know this is being recorded. So one of the things we pride as a district is high expectations and achieving, obviously, those high expectations as well. And I think the boys tennis team is a tribute to that. So this is a team who came into regular season. I think the biggest problem that the team had all year is they have so much talent in terms of the ability that they have on this team. But with that said, as we all know, and people who follow sports, and everyone knows I follow a lot of sports, just because you have a lot of talent, just because you have high expectation, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to take it all, win a state championship, or win, at a high school level, a state championship. But I think what was great about this team is, again, beginning of the year, high expectations. And then, if you follow them, which I did throughout the year, it was incredible that the high expectations, as much as they were, they overachieved. I mean, there was a time at one point, I remember figuring it out with their coach, that they played 150 matches, 150 individual matches, and were 149-1, which is unreal, to a point that... And then it's a matter of throughout the season, and I remember there was someone there from the Oakland Press who was just amazed, at how much they've achieved, wrote a story on them. Again, it was 149-1, then it went to like 206, 240-12. It was just one of those regular seasons that you can only dream about. But then obviously, like most high achieving teams, it's not what you do in the regular season, it's what you do in the postseason. And the postseason, again, did not disappoint. They went through the regionals. Even the comment was made, from the person who ran the regionals, how dominant they were. I mean, they basically, won pretty much, almost every match at the regionals, taking the regional championship, with 23 points. And then this is where a lot of teams, high-achieving teams, get caught up, is at the state tournament. And again, people know I've been to, a lot of events, a lot of high-achieving teams, past teams of tennis, both boys and girls, where you can get picked off very, very easily at the state championship. State championship, if people don't know, it's a 2-day event. After day 1, team basically came out, was in the lead going into day 2. So they were ranked first. But then day 2, as everyone knows, I know I talked about this, a lot of parents, again, that first bunch of matches, the semifinal matches, which incredibly, we had 7 of our 8 teams advance to day 2, and then we had 7 of 8 teams advance to the finals of our 8 teams. And then on day 2, it was so dominant that pretty much midway through the event, I think some of the parents didn't want to let them know they had enough points that they actually won a state title pretty much like an hour into day 2. Right after, there were still matches going on, first, the semifinal matches, and, they won just dominant fashion. They had, 8 individual state titleists, and overall team 35 points, which one of the greatest point totals in the history. So again, I just wanted to come here, acknowledge what their achievements were, and then just applaud all their accomplishments. So our 2022 state boys tennis champions. And then finally, we just have a couple of individual achievement awards. First of all, the team. It's not just about playing tennis with this team. The Bloomfield Hills High School team, in recognition of an all-state academic achievement as well, Division I, Fall 2022. So they also received academic accolades as a team, in addition to winning the state title. And then 2 seniors got in recognition for all-state academic achievement, Senior Player Tennis Award. One goes to Drew Davis. Come up, Drew. Come up. The board doesn't bite, Drew. Come on. And Toni, Vasile. You want to take a 5-minute break? Pictures? Or?
We just need to take them up, take pictures with the board, and then
Okay.
is the boosters parent here?
Carol?
Carol, hi. And then we have all of the certificates, if you and Superintendent Watson want to pass it out.
Superintendent Watson?
Yeah, we can take them. Okay. You can go right up to the podium.
Okay. We're going to start with Sam Basil. Jonah Chernett.
Should they start lining up?
Yep, they're coming.
Right next to your team.
Merrick Chernett. Drew Davis. Michael Dillon. Ethan Endelman. Asher Langwell. Kierth Lingam. Dominic Pascarella. Aaron Rose. Ryan Rose. Connor Shaya. Daniel Stojanov. Pierce. Oh, Pierce Shaya. Sorry, did I not say Pierce? Sorry, the brothers. And Toni Vasile.
You guys might need to come together a little bit closer, and then our board
Squeeze in.
come in. Squeeze in. Make 2 lines. I was talking about. we have one more recognition, and then everyone's able to just take off.
Hello, my name is Jason Ward. I'm the new associate principal at Bloomfield Hills High School. I'm honored to stand before you today to celebrate current Bloomfield Hills High School students who have been recognized by the College Board National Recognition Program. These students not only have had significant academic achievements on the, but also outstanding performance on the PSAT, NMSQT, PSET 10, and/or AP exams. Students having a GPA of 3.5 or higher and have excelled on the PSAT and NMSQT, PSET 10, or earned a score of 3 or higher on 2 or more AP exams and are African American, Black, Hispanic, Hispanic American, Latinx, Indigenous, and or attend other schools in rural areas or small towns. Tonight, we are joined by the following Bloomfield Hills High School students: Louis Garza, Nia Johnson, and Aaron Proctor. Though they were unable to attend tonight, we would also like to recognize Alexandria Baldy, Cassidy Dickerson, Nicholas Little, Jakea O'Rourke, Sydney Serene, and Isaiah Woods.
Thank you, everyone, for attending recognition. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the board meeting, or you can certainly leave for the evening if you'd like.
Great job, you guys. Great job. You stay.
I suppose it is a school night.
They're going home to watch it on I said they're going home to watch it.
Must watch TV.
We'll give them a couple minutes to get home before we get started.
Thursday night. Happy days. That was actually Tuesday night. Happy days, run Charlie, Grace Company.
All right, we have one more special recognition. It's for our outgoing Board of Education trustees. Pat, you can start us off, I believe.
Since becoming superintendent of Bloomfield Hills Schools in January of 2020, we have been through a lot together as a district, including navigating the global pandemic, COVID-19, arguably one of the most challenging times for education in recent history, and probably one of the most challenging times in all of our personal lives. As you reflect on your time on the board, my hope is that you carry with you fond memories of your hard work, leadership, and support to our community. The contributions collectively made in your combined 18 years of service leave a legacy of the positive and lasting impacts of your service for years to come. Serving as a school board member means being vulnerable and brave to put your name on an election ballot, and then making the difficult decisions for the district and you've had to make a lot of difficult decisions for its employees, students, during all of your years on the board. Board members commit to reading reports, learning the laws, understanding the community needs, setting intentional goals, and maintaining oversight of the district's financial resources. It means being available to hear from our stakeholders at the community conversation events, at athletic and recreation events, or at all the community events. It means committing to the time it takes to do the job right, and that is no small commitment. Trustees Barron, Efros, and Matlow took on the responsibility and hard work of making our schools the best they absolutely can be. They immersed themselves in learning what they needed to know to make good decisions for all of our students. Tonight, we honor trustees Barron, Efros, and Matlow for their immense contributions to our school community. While the list would be pages long if I were to name each and every one, I'll try to be concise in acknowledging just a few of their accomplishments. Merging the former Andover and Lasser high schools and then building and opening the new Bloomfield Hills High School building. Creating the district's strategic plan, which embraced diversity, equity, and inclusion, and increased the transparency of the district's continuing efforts to reduce the opportunity gaps that exist for many groups of students, to include a completely revamped district value statement. Obtain the bond funding required to complete the right sizing of Bloomfield Hills schools by moving from 3 middle schools to 2 and realigning the catchment areas to reflect the current district population. Rewrote the entire board policy manual and created a separate board operating procedure manual. Thoughtfully navigated the COVID pandemic and emerged from it as one of the only districts in the state of Michigan to improve math and ELA for students compared to scores prior to COVID. A true testament of the commitment and direction of our board members, administration, staff, and students. Hundreds of hours poured into each of these achievements. Trustee Barron, Efros, and Matlow never wavered from their deep interest in the mission of the organization, and they selflessly devoted themselves, their time, and their talents to the betterment of Bloomfield Hills schools. To commemorate your service as a trustee on the Board of Education, we present you with a memento as a token of our appreciation. In your bags, you will find an etched face. When these are filled, it is my hope that you will think of the students we serve. Children, like plants and flowers, need support to grow to their full potential. Thank you for providing our students opportunities to cultivate, develop, and grow their interests and minds to their fullest potential. However, this is not a farewell. You're not off the hook that easy.
You have our phone.
I do, and thanks to my star, I know where you live. Okay, I know your commitment to our district extends past your years of service at the board table, and I thank you for your continued investment and passion. I look forward to working with each of you in the coming years as engaged community members. Before turning it over to President Van Gemert for his remarks, please enjoy this video of highlights from your years on the board.
was nice. So, as the days, weeks, and months of my own service have ticked by, I've grown more and more appreciative of the time and effort and service dedicated to our community by trustees Barron, Matlow, and Efros. It has been an honor to serve with each of them. We will miss Howard's passion for the big picture, education for all, a forward thinker and finance expert. We will miss his passion for details and compassion for each student as well. We will miss Jennifer's passion for data-informed decision-making and holding each other accountable with measurable goals, as well as her passion for the extracurriculars that drive our students' passions. We will miss Lisa's ability to help us see the positives when discussions turn negative, for being a counselor and for being an advocate for positive science-based change in our district. I thank all of you for your efforts on the bond that will benefit the students of this district for years to come. I want to personally thank each of you for the untold number of hours you've spent on the phone with me over the past 2 years, discussing, explaining, working through the issues that have confronted us. You have each planted trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit, and this community is grateful for your service now and will continue to be for years to come. Thanks. And now we'll move on to Siva.
Thank you, John. Howard, Jennifer, and Lisa, it's been an honor to serve with you on this board. I really got to appreciate the countless hours of service that you've given to the district and your continual advocacy for students, especially challenged students, whether they be special ed or students with resource constraints. Thank you, all three of you, for considering me or talking me into considering to run for office. I would have making me run for office. and your patience for getting me up to speed after I got on the board. So really appreciate all the time you took. And so really looking forward to your continued counsel as you step off the board. I'm still continuing to learn on various matters, and I'm going to be reaching out to you going forward. So thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Michelle?
So I think that people just don't know how much time and effort as a board member you really sacrifice to put the students first. And I think at the end of the day, it really, the amount of hours is unmeasurable and immeasurable. And I think that if we look at Howard, and when Howard leaves the board, who's going to feel the things that Howard used to do? When Lisa and Jennifer are no longer here, who would fulfill the things that they used to do? So I say that to only say that you're not replaceable. No one can take your seat in the board, even though the seats are voted on, of course. But your position as a past board member, you've left a legacy in our district that we will hold on to forever. All of the trainings we went through, Michelle Harmala, you're never going to forget her, right? Right? And I think that we've grown so much as a unit, and that we function so much together for the betterment of our students that it will be hard to really let that go. So I thank you all, and as John stated about the tree, that was a very good metaphor, just wanted you to know that. The trees that you've built, and I don't know if you heard that part, it was really good too, John. It was like the trees you built, you won't be able, it was a quote?
Yeah,
well, I'm giving it to you, John. But you won't be able to sit right underneath them to receive the shade. And I know that each of you will never, ever give up on this district, and each of you are going to continue to give your time because that's who you are. You're givers. And don't ever forget that. Your families, thank you all for giving your families to us, because the other part of this is not just the time that you've given to the board, it's also the time that you weren't able to spend with your families. And so we thank you, for each and every one of you, for what you've done, and you're an inspiration for growth in this district. So thank you. You're irreplaceable. Don't cry.
Paul?
So I guess this leaves me as the most experienced board member left in terms of experience. But yeah, I think everyone has said it. I mean, volunteering, this is, again, to remind everyone, this is a volunteer position that we spend time. I know I've been on the board with Howard for 8 years. I mean, Howard, as everyone knows, is he's just a resource of information. So when you need something, I remember the 3 years that when I was president, if I needed something, I know I could send it to Howard, and 99.999% of the time, he'd probably be able to either has it at his fingertips or would send it to me or find it and send it to me. Even to this day, if I'm like, I need to get into Novice or something, I'm like, Howard will just, send me the link in like 2 seconds. So, valuable resource, and Michelle, you said it, his passion for legislative, his passion, I think the one thing about Howard is, what his passions are, and he spends the time at his passion. So that is going to be, obviously it's going to be missed, not just throughout here, but I'm, sure throughout Michigan. Jennifer and Lisa, we ran together, 4 years ago. I think one of the things, reflecting, the last couple of years of our, just being on the board is one thing you learn over the course is a growth mindset. There's a lot of things the last couple of years I've learned. The meetings, we've had, a lot of discussions. We went through probably one of the hardest times in the state of Michigan of being on the board. So, the one thing, and I think, we've said it again, I think what all three of the board members brought was passion. Passion, and again, passion focused on, what we all do is what we think is in the best interest of all of our students. And again, as I go through, the next 4 years, on the board and being the last 8, again, it is, for people who don't know, it's a significant, lot of work. And then there's positions you take, and, the community members, sometimes forget that it's a volunteer position, and we're all trying to do what we think is in the best interest of students, and that's a difficult task. So anyone who serves on a board that we don't get paid for, and the amount of time and effort and, what we have to deal with sometimes in the community should all be recognized and all be acknowledged, and we should admire people who do that. So thank you very much. What? I'm still calling you Michelle. I don't care.
All right, we're going to move on to public comment. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, you're right. Howard, you're up.
I wrote this whole speech or nothing.
Should I keep the time of 3 minutes?
Excellent.
Who's what's going to happen with that role?
I need to get that on the record.
Well, maybe we should keep time. Go ahead, Howard.
I think we could use discretion.
Sure. Thank you, President Van Gamberg. 12 years ago, when I walked through the parking lot of the old administration building across from Andover High School, I bumped into newly appointed Superintendent Rob Glass. The district was still in the middle of the decade-long high school building debate, and Rob had recently been hired to bring it to a resolution. I introduced myself to Rob and told him that although I knew close to nothing about K-12 education, I'd be willing to assist him in any way that I could to help to reconcile the two sides and bring an end to this controversy. Little did I know that this chance encounter would lead to where I am today. The last 12 years has brought a great deal of change and progress to Bloomfield Hills schools. These include the following, and reiterating some of the things that Pat was just saying. The right sizing of the high schools and the middle schools, a more comprehensive strategic plan which focuses on diversity, equity, inclusion, and closing of the district's many opportunity gaps, the hiring of our wonderful superintendent, Mr. Pat Watson, and adapting our education system to function successfully during a global pandemic. The district is in a much better place, both academically and financially, than when I started my board service in 2013. I truly want to thank my fellow board members, both past and present, with whom I have worked so closely during that time. Through many, many phone calls and numerous late-night meetings, we have accomplished a great deal. I would also like to thank our incredible executive assistant, Rebecca Catherine Shaya. You amazingly read our minds, taking care of things before we even have thought about them. Your upbeat spirit and ever-present smile are always the joy that greets us before our meetings start. Thank you for all that you do for the board and for the students of Bloomfield Hills Schools. During those 10 years, I've dedicated half of my school service to the governing of Bloomfield Hills Schools and the children of our district. The other half of my time, I've spent addressing the complex education policy issues that are decided in Lansing, Michigan, and Washington, D.C. The state and federal government both have tremendous impact on the quality of education in the state of Michigan. They provide the leadership, structure, and funding for our children's education. Earlier this year, I determined I would use the knowledge that I've gained from being on this Bloomfield Hills School Board to help the rest of the state of Michigan. I believe that all school districts in Michigan can be and should be as academically and financially successful as Bloomfield Hills Schools. That is why I've been working over the past 12 months to be a member of the Michigan State Board of Education. My vision is to have all children in Michigan provided the same opportunities of learning as a child who currently attends Bloomfield Hills Schools. All 1.4 million K-12 students in this state should be able to reach their full academic and social potential, eliminating opportunity gaps wherever they exist. I hope to either be appointed by the governor to fill the current opening that exists on the state board, or to be elected by the voters of Michigan in 2024. I have learned that over the past decade, no one on the state school board has served on a local school board. Bringing this grassroots knowledge and expertise to the state board table will give me the opportunity to try and make my educational vision a reality. So I want to, in closing, say I want to thank you, the voters of Bloomfield Hills Schools, for twice electing me to this school board and this wonderful district. It has been a great honor to serve both you and your students for the past decade.
Lisa?
I began my term on the Board of Education 4 years ago. I have been called a detractor and a rubber stamper. I am neither of those things. I am a parent who loves Bloomfield Hills Schools and wants to do something good for the community. My years of involvement in Bloomfield Hills Schools go back further than my time on the board. I vividly recall waiting outside of Mrs. Bushy's kindergarten class over 20 years ago, holding the hand of a nervous and excited student, his younger sister, and steering the stroller of a 3-month-old who's 6'2" in the audience. I was proud of us for making it there on time with a backpack, healthy snacks, and a camera. Mom is the hat that I wear first, last, and always. My husband and I moved to Bloomfield Hills 26 years ago for the schools. We were welcomed by neighbors and friends, and then eventually by teachers. I estimate that I have been a room parent over 20 times, celebrated over 240 school parties, packed over 8,000 lunches, stood on too many fields to count, I have been to the Farm and Nature Center over 500 times, at least half of which were field trips. I have been to too many PTO meetings to count, worked on 5 bond campaigns, and spoken on the other side of the podium with babies and kids in tow. I have been a stay-at-home mom and a working mom. Bloomfield Hills Schools found plenty of places for me to volunteer regardless. The clapouts, costumes, book fairs, field days, concerts, conferences, curriculum nights, I will miss them all. Even making lunches, even board meetings. If your involvement with Bloomfield Hills Schools consists mostly of emails or addressing the board, you're missing the best part. We chose Bloomfield because we wanted to give our kids a fairy tale childhood where every day the sun shined and people were always happy. So people think my expectations are too high. No place in the world can ever meet that criteria, but as my daughter pointed out years ago, in our memories, our favorite places exceed them. For years, I contemplated running for the board. I knew it was the right time when my constructive criticism list grew. It's very easy to criticize, but not so easy to make things better. In the last 4 years, I learned just how difficult change can be. Upon reflection, the most important thing I learned is that all of it is important and that everything matters. Bloomfield Hills Schools is made up of thousands of students, each who has unique preferences and values: academics, extracurriculars, athletics, arts, music, clubs, math, science, reading, writing. There's no one best way to run a school district. I think that if you offer choices and you respect the choices that others make, especially if they differ from you, then you honor our students. If all of your decisions are made with students in mind, that's a good place to start. And sure, you'll make mistakes, but then they'll be solvable. Finally, if you listen to students and let them tell you what they need and what they want, you'll make fewer mistakes. My thoughts about Bloomfield Hills Schools after 20 years of involvement and 4 years on the Board of Education: there's never been a better time to be a Bloomfield Hills student. I'm grateful for every one of my 20 years, for 4 superintendents, too many board members who preceded me to count, teachers that changed the lives of my 4 children and countless others, for paras and coaches and bus drivers and volunteers, for PTOs and boosters and parents and caregivers who loved my children and watched over them. I love Bloomfield Hills Schools. The people I have met are my family, and what fill my memories. I have never had political aspirations, and I've never been very good at creating an on-camera persona. I just wanted to do something good for the community. Thank you to the administration, fellow board members, and the entire Bloomfield Hills school community for putting your trust in me. These weren't easy times for our country, but through it all, I felt overwhelmingly supported and encouraged, and I'm very grateful. For those considering running for the board one day, my advice is do it. One of my role models told me that parents and PTO volunteers make the best leaders. I believe it. None of my professional experience prepared me as well as the time I spent in classrooms. If you think you need a lot of money or the support of a campaign staff, think again. You're about to welcome a trustee who spent no money and isn't even on social media. She's here tonight. If you're lucky, very lucky, like me, you will have a campaign team, goddesses, who were there with you before the campaign and who never left your side during the entire term. If you're unbelievably lucky, you will be sworn in with a brilliant trustee like Jennifer Matlow. Fate brought me another sister. Thank you to my Facebook and real-life friend for never taking it easy on me and challenging me to think, question, and indulge the surreal irony of it all. Thank you to Tina, who stepped up as interim superintendent while simultaneously doing her other job, Assistant Superintendent of Finance, and took only one salary for 6 months and did both jobs exceptionally well. Thank you to Rebecca. There is no job title or description for all you do. I just put everything. And with a smile and a great sense of humor. And thank you to Pat. You are honest, humble, kind, and your work ethic is beyond compare. You make everybody better, and which I think comes in part from your 20 years of teacher magic. Most of all, thank you to my family. I signed up for this, but you did not. You are the reason that I do everything.
Thank you, Lisa. That was very sweet. So I moved here in 2014 with a third grader and a fifth grader, and started volunteering for the district right away. Was only a room mother once, so kudos to you, because that was insane. But fast forward 3 years, and my daughter's getting a little journalism award when she was finishing 7th grade, and I'm sitting in Bloomfield High School auditorium, which I don't think I had even stepped in the high school until then. And then board president Ingrid Day announced, well, oh, and by the way, everybody, I'm moving, so there's going to be a board vacancy. And I'm sitting there in the audience going, I think I could do that. I want to do that. So you are absolutely right, Lisa, when you say if you feel like you should run for the board, you should just do it. So I'll just say a few quick things. I couldn't turn down a microphone. I want to say that I'm just very grateful to the entire community for the chance to have served the district, and grateful to and for all the wonderful people and worthwhile projects I have encountered along the way. I aspire to count so many of you as lifelong friends. Beth, I'm talking to you too. Of the projects, I'm especially proud to have been an instrumental part in the passage of the bond and the finalization of our district's core value statement. I welcome all of you to read the letter on the latter on the website. If you have not encountered it already, you go to the About Us tab, then the Mission and Vision tab. Coupled with the Portrait of a Learner, I think that the values document is a great guidepost for the shaping of young hearts and minds, and really for all of us as we strive to live and work in this community with love and integrity. Our young people need to feel above all other things that we love them and we are here for them. In short, that we are all that one trusted adult that we talk about. And when I got confused on this board, I told Carolyn and Tarek this a few days ago, because everything is very confusing, and you just have to sit down and say, what is the best thing for students? And then everything becomes clear and fairly straightforward. So if our students can internalize the trusted adults, they will be capable of all things. From comparison of my day job, although I found the immediate measures of accountability are not as omnipresent as they are in other lines of work, but the stakes in K-12 education could not be higher, really. What we do here is quite literally a matter of life and death, and it is a predictor of the success of our nation and our way of life. So I truly hope that Bloomfield, under Superintendent Watson's conscientious and ambitious leadership, remains a very positive culture that embraces starting with yes, with trust, and with the assumption of good intentions, a culture that is humble and without fear of openly discussing flaws and how to address them, and a culture that uses scientific methods to strive and achieve continual improvements in educational excellence and empathy in every single situation, no matter how big or how small. I hope that we grow to a place where we compare ourselves only to exceeding our own past performances and with matched districts of excellence around the nation and the world. And as you alluded to, Superintendent Watson, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, so I am at everyone's disposal for further district volunteerism and any other capacities for which I may be useful. Thank you. Picture? We're trying to see how many times we can say Dr. South. So feel free to join the game.
Is that a drinking game?
Yeah, it could be a drinking game. But just tea.
Okay, so now we'll move on to public comment. Sorry about that. I'm not going to read the public comment preamble. It appears we have 3 people here for the same purpose, but if you veer off, which I know you won't, we'll bring up 3 distinguished members of our community. Trustee-elect Falah will be first.
We'll come up together.
Oh.
That works.
And
But I fully,
trustee-elect.
well, see, he's still only, I expect Howard will be in here with a timer even when he's done, and that's okay. Board members in our community, I want to take a moment to thank personally the 3 members who are departing from their positions. There is so much to thank you for, but as an incoming board member who is beginning to understand what the job requires, beyond a depth I thought I already knew, I want to thank you for your sacrifices. I want to thank you for your willingness to sacrifice so much of your time, which could have been used for so many other things, but was instead used in pursuit of supporting our school district. I want to thank you for sacrificing your egos, for believing that all of this is bigger than you, me, or anyone else, and that nothing great has ever been accomplished by one, only with the efforts of all. I want to thank you for sacrificing your emotions, for putting aside the moments you spent in frustration, anger, or sadness, and remaining focused on how you can improve your resolve and march forward during some extremely difficult times. So many of us have said thanks before for displaying exemplary leadership skills during COVID, and certainly we all thank you. But knowing what this group went through, knowing the hard decisions you struggled with, knowing what was at stake, knowing that the world was literally in chaos, but staying the course because of your care and your commitment to our community. Thank you falls so flat, so short of delivering something which truly articulates the gratitude we hold for you and the years you have all spent serving our community. Mitch Albom has a wonderful quote about this topic. Sacrifice is a part of life. It's supposed to be. It's not something to regret. It's something to aspire to. Unpaid volunteer positions can be as much or as little as you make of them. It all comes down to how much you're willing to sacrifice in pursuit of aspiring to achieve something bigger than you. As unbelievable as it may sound to you, your commitment and sacrifices were ultimately what led me to getting involved. Not because I thought you did a bad job, not because I disagreed with your decisions, not because I believed that I could do better. I ran because I was inspired by you to be involved in the lives of our students. I watched you during those board meetings, discussing important topics, working on goal setting, deliberating on impactful decisions. I wanted to be involved because you all showed me what we could accomplish when people have passion, commitment, integrity, resolve, perseverance, and care. Were it only one student's life you impacted, your years spent would have been worth it. However, remind yourselves that you impacted the lives of thousands of students. There are the many domino effects to be proud of for the catalyst your hard work produced. Never forget that. To the 3 of you, thank you does indeed fall short. I say it, nevertheless, I say it along with the rest of our community and stand before you in sincere gratitude. Thank you for the many years of service to this community. Thank you for making sacrifices which have made so many lives better. Thank you for being BHS.
Well, to be honest with you, I thought 3 minutes was a lot shorter than that, so mine is quite brief. But to Howard Barron, Lisa Efros, and Jennifer Matlow, thank you so much for your commitment to being on the school board for the last 4 years. You've each given yourself to the community, and we thank you for that. Just because your time on the Bloomfield Hills School Board is coming to a close doesn't mean our community loses you forever. You have made an impact in the little moments and the large looming moments during the pandemic, and I salute you for all that you have given. And I leave you with this quote from Brene Brown about leadership. Quote, "There are a million cheap seats in the world today filled with people who will never be brave with their own lives, but we still spend every ounce of energy they have hurling advice and judging at those of us who try to dare greatly. Their only contributions are criticism, cynicism, and fear-mongering. If you're criticized from a place where you're not also putting yourself out on the line, I'm not interested in your feedback." So I want to say thank you to each of you for giving yourself and putting yourself on the line to better the Bloomfield Hills School District.
Thank you both. I just want to say, just like I said, never been a better time to be a student in Bloomfield. Look at who your new trustees are
Could
going to
not
be.
have better
Yep.
successors, so we are here for you all the time.
We have one more distinguished guest, teacher, coach, and BHEA President Phil Liberty.
All right. Hello. We heard some great speeches tonight. Hello. My name is still Phil Liberty. I'm both a history teacher at the high school and the president of the Bloomfield Hills Education Association. I wanted to take this opportunity this evening to acknowledge the service of our three board members who will be leaving the board this coming year, and acknowledge the sacrifices and time that they contributed to this community that my 436 members serve. I'm quite sure that none of the current board could have predicted the many challenges that we would have faced over the previous few years. I know that I certainly did not predict these challenges and what we faced when I agreed to serve in my current position. Despite with all of those challenges that we faced, I was always supremely confident that we would come out successful, that we'd come out better than even before. And the thing that I always fall back on that gives me that confidence is that I know that all the voices at the table here in Bloomfield Hills hold at the center, at the core, what's best for students and for staff and for the community at large. And as long as all the voices at the table hold those things central, I know that we would handle any challenge that we faced and would be better for it. So Lisa, Howard, Jennifer, on behalf of my membership, I want to sincerely thank you for the time, the commitment, the passion, the empathy, and the care that you've shown throughout your tenure on this board. It means a lot to me personally, and it means a lot to my membership collectively. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Okay, number 8, President's Report. Cat's out of the bag from our first item, which is congratulations to Dr. Southward on earning her doctorate.
What is Dr. Southward doing?
The other things I want to mention, Bowers Farm Winter Park opens January 6th and runs Wednesdays through Sundays until February 26th. Snow tubing at Bowers Farm is quite possibly the most popular thing to do in Bloomfield Hills the last couple of winters. There are not a lot of spots still available, but I checked earlier today and there are a few. So
If I might add, John, they're definitely looking for adult volunteers to staff all parts of Winter Park. So if you go to the website, there is a sign-up genius for all of the days and all of the roles.
ice skating spots are readily available, I believe. So, but like I said, there are a handful of spots for snow tubing available, but most of them said sold out earlier today. So jump on that right away, I guess. I forgot to mention this at last meeting. The Division I Girls State Swim Championship was at Oakland University on November 18th and 19th. Junior Demetra Bikos took home 13th in the 200 IM and 11th in the 500 free. Our famous senior, Brooke Thompson, finished 6th in the 50 free and 10th in the 100 free. And those two teamed up with Megan Hunt and Kaylee Pitts for 18th in the 200 medley and 16th in the 400 free relays. Winter sports are underway, and I recently learned that all BHS students are invited to participate in free after-school weight room training, whether they are athletes out of season or someone just looking to gain additional fitness. A professional strength coach from 2SP is available every day from 2:50 to 4:20 to guide students through specialized or generalized workouts. And lastly, I don't know if Mr. Watson will mention this or not, but he and his team have organized a number of events this year, including a recent story time at the library. And over the coming months, more events are planned in which community members can meet and interact with our superintendent. Check the website for details and registration information. Scheduled events that are currently planned is Music and Mingle next Wednesday, December 21st at Bloomfield Township Senior Center, and a pickleball event at West Hills Middle School on January 31st. Over to you, Superintendent Watson.
Thank you, President Van Gemert. First, I want to congratulate Board of Education trustee Dr. Michelle Southward on earning her doctorate from Oakland University. So I don't know if you caught that earlier, Trustee Colin, about Dr. Southward. Thank you.
I think I got the memo.
Thank you. As President Van Gemert said, a couple opportunities to interact. For those that aren't scheduled, if anyone wants to reach out to me regarding just wanting to meet or an opportunity to interact, always happy to do that. We always want to have some schedule. So next Wednesday, I'll be at the Senior Center for our Music and Mingle event at 11 a.m. So please join me to listen to a BHS string quartet perform for us and enjoy some light refreshments. In January, there'll be an opportunity to engage in pickleball at West Hills Middle School, which is open for drop-in every week already. Whether it's something you've tried or haven't tried, it's become a little bit popular. It's the fastest growing sport in the United States with now 4.8 million members of USA Pickleball and tends to be increasing each month.
Does anyone in the community get anything if they actually beat you during one of the pickleball matches?
I actually have lost in tournaments to community members, and they remind me of that. So it shouldn't be too difficult. But
Rebecca, sign me up to be a doubles partner with Superintendent Watson.
But it's also open to students. So if there are students of any age that would want to come and play, it's a very social opportunity. And the goal is to get out, get some exercise, have some fun. So hopefully maybe some of you, if you want to give it a try, will come out. If music's more your thing, the Music and Mingle at the Senior Center is going to be phenomenal. The talent we have, the musicians we have are second to none. I think we already know that. We saw that at the last concert. It was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I also want to share some amazing things our students have done this school year as we head into winter break. Eastover is teaming up with Toys for Tots to help deliver toys to children who may not be able to receive them otherwise. Conant created a No Place for Hate tree where each leaf has been signed by each student of the school, and the roots of the tree are signed by all the teachers. Way started a fourth grade kindness crew where students meet once a month and complete projects to build a positive community and spread kindness. Members of Lone Pine will be participating in Royal Oak Beaumont Hospital's Moonbeams for Sweet Dreams tomorrow. BHMS 7th graders did a service project where they cut, sorted, and knotted fabric to make more than 100 dog pull toys for the dogs without homes at the Detroit Animal Care and Control. Our East Hills 8th grade food students made 40 dozen dinner rolls and donated them to Gleaner's Food Bank. Our West Hills 4th graders partnered with 8th graders to write letters to soldiers currently serving in the military as an act of gratitude. Some of our BHS students volunteered at the Lighthouse Project in Pontiac to help support the Adopt a Family Project. The IA is participating in Coats for the Cold, where they are collecting new or lightly used coats, gloves, hats, and blankets. Our Bauer students have been hard at work to create a video to raise funds to purchase additional trees for the farm. Our Wing Lake students participated in making cards for our active military. And our prep students have been supporting the Lighthouse of Oakland County on Wednesday mornings by sorting canned goods, fresh fruits and vegetables, and packing food baskets for families. Thank you to our students, our staff, families, and community members for your support in making this first 4 months of school incredible. I wish you all a restful and a happy winter break. Thank you.
President Van Gemert, Can I make a couple of comments, just additions?
Sure.
So just a couple of things, before you reminded me during your president's speech. So 3 things I wanted to point out. 1, this weekend, starting tomorrow morning, evening, Saturday, there's a matinee and evening, and Sunday, matinee and evening. Our BHS choir is going to be performing at the DSO. So if anyone wants something to do this weekend, I've actually gone in the past. I'll be going this weekend. It's a great performance. And then they'll be the only school that's been invited. So they'll be performing. So I just wanted to let the community know that. And two other things, talking about sports. Over this past weekend, our esports team won another state championship in one of their events at Oakland University. And then 2, last night, historic event, one of our basketball players, boys basketball team, Noah Adamczak, first player in our school's history to score 1,000 points in his career. So I just wanted to make mention of that as well.
Thanks, Paul. Move on to consent agenda. Trustee Matlow, you're.
I move that the Board of Education approve the recommendations detailed in the consent agenda as follows. Request to approve minutes from the closed session and regular meeting of November 17th, 2022. Request to approve minutes from the closed session and study session of December 1st, 2022. Request to approve disbursement report submitted by Tina Kostick, Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations. I move that the Board of Education approve the disbursement reports as presented. Request to approve monthly financial reports submitted by Tina Kostick, Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations. I move that the Board of Education approve the financial reports as presented. And finally, request to approve HR actions submitted by Keith McDonald, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. I move that the Board of Education approve the personnel actions as presented.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. And on to 11 special reports. Paul Wills and Alan Dresselhaus. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, President Van Gimmert, board members, and on behalf of Plant Moran Cressa, our firm would like to say thank you to Trustee Barron, Trustee Matlow, and Trustee Afros for all your service and your support. Also, personally as a resident, also want to thank you for your time. So what you have in your board packet, there it is. There we go. There's really 2 parts to the presentation. One is we want to continue to provide great detail relative to the financial performance of the district, relative to the bond. Mr. Dresselhaus is going to walk you through kind of budget to actuals where we're at to date. Got some great news on the contingency, which continues to grow even with the amount of projects that we've bid out. We'll talk a little bit about just an update with some pictorials, what's happening at the 4 major projects at the elementary school as well as the middle school. And then I'll turn it back and kind of run the remainder of the projects that are in process with designing going up forward. There we go. Perfect. There we go. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Dresselhaus.
Thank you, Mr. Wills. Board, good to see you again. It's been a busy year for all of us here as well on the construction site. So I'm just going to quickly recap for you where we're at, where we're going, and hopefully to the finish line here. So just want to quickly recap that the bond was successfully approved by the district back in August of 2020. It was a series of totaling approximately $200,155,000. It was broken up into basically 3 sections. We have Series 1, which was sold off in 2020 for $94 million. Series 2A sold off this year, 2022, for $20 million. And then we have Series 2B, which is $86.1 million, that is anticipated to be sold off in 2023. So currently, the amount of funds that are in play is around $114,045,000. And we are currently complying with the Department of Treasury's 85% expenditure requirements within the 3 years. Just recapping quickly here, the Series 1 and 2A of the work that's taking place between 2020 and 2023. We have the design and construction improvements at North Hills and South Hills. We have the design and construction additions and improvements at both Conant and Way. We have interior renovations that are currently ongoing at the elementary schools, Conant, Eastover, Lone Pine, Way, as well as piloting programs for technology and furniture implementation. So concurrently with all of this work going on, we have approximately $127 million of activity underway at this point. This is an important slide I want to take a few minutes to discuss with you. It's a little blurry on the screen, but so this is basically our construction cost update model that I've been working hard with the district's finance team. We are currently meeting weekly on this to really get our handle on not only contingency spend, but dollars that have been allocated versus budget to date. So district-wide, we have, as I alluded to, we've got about $127 million of committed cost to this date. We have spent out 67.9, so almost $68 million worth. An important highlight here is the construction and escalation contingency bucket. So we had approximately 18.2 that was in the budget, and today we have committed approximately 5.4. I will tell you that, it sounds like we still have quite a bit of money left in contingency. However, we are clipping right along now, getting caught up on some change orders, municipal requirements that the city has required for us to do, some sanitary and storm modifications that needed to be taken care of. So I know the question is going to come up, at what point can we start thinking about releasing some contingency? I'd like to say that, we're probably one more quarter away before having those discussions. And what does the contingency include? That's the construction, the FF&E, technology. We've got cost escalation in there, and then obviously the owner's contingency, which you can see below, we have not tapped into. One other point of highlight here is that the contract budget for owner's contingency was the 2.6, but with the decision to keep the transportation and PPS building development on school-owned property over Eastover, we were able to have some cost avoidance of the real estate for additional land of approximately, I believe it's $2.7 million. So we've rolled that back into your owner contingency. As far as spend goes, on a monthly basis right now, we are gathering in invoices around $5 million that we are approving and processing for payment. So you can see that we're clipping right along right now. As far as construction activity goes, I'll start off with it north. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to be by there lately, but things are really coming together. We are aggressively pushing the construction management team to hopefully have this school ready for operational setup at the end of July, maybe even early July. I think that is very achievable. At this point, the new gymnasium floor is going down. It looks amazing in there. We're continuing to prime and paint the walls inside. Ceiling panels and lights are going up in the new pool area that was just installed. Drywall finishings throughout. The new kitchen hood and walk-in cooler is being installed. And then obviously all the mechanical and MEP systems are continuing and ongoing. Taking a look at south, things are pretty well getting enclosed over there. All the wall construction, the CMU exterior walls for the new offices and things are being wrapped up. The construction for the new music room is really coming together. As you can see some of the newer photos that have been released. The roof joist and decking is in place. The roofing membrane is being installed over the auditorium. And then we did recently complete our punch list of activities from the work we did over this past summer. Moving on to Conant Elementary, we've got approximately $16.7 million we're doing in total program costs there. The interior doors and window frames are now currently being installed. The roof joist, decking, membrane is all being installed over the multi-purpose room space. The exterior brick facade is coming into play and is looking really well. Interior walls are starting to become painted. The drywall work continues to finish up, and then again, all the MEP, mechanical, electrical systems are all in the works right now at this point. Moving on to Way, and this facility is perhaps a little bit of ahead of schedule compared to some of the other ones. The building, the new additions are in place. The brick has started over the last couple of weeks with regards to the new exterior facade. On the classroom additions, roofing started this week and is being installed over both additions. Again, the mechanical systems are all being installed currently. Interior walls are starting to get painted, and the walk-in fridge has also been installed in the new kitchen area. So things are really progressing nicely there. Just a couple other highlights that I wanted to point out of other activities that we're working on. The PPS and transportation development, which is obviously a big part of this next phase of work. We have moved things up on that to try to capture back some of the construction escalation costs so that we can have more money to do some other things here. We are currently through schematic design. We have priced it out. We have some value engineering we're working on concurrently, hoping to have that wrapped up and into design development here by early first quarter. And then we're really looking to perhaps get in for permitting and things like that by July, and maybe even starting construction next year. So that has been moved up. High school athletics also, which will be coming in front of you for a bid pack award later here in this evening. We have negotiated, went through design on the new baseball and softball turf fields. We've reached an agreement on that with the team, and we're ready to procure that yet this year, maybe even first part of January. But it's going to be state of the art, and hopefully everybody will be excited about that. With respect to the new wellness center and the concessions building, again, that is a project that we have moved forward to try to expedite and get things going, and we've actually started the schematic design on that. That is to be wrapped up here in January, and then we will look at it together as a team, make our necessary adjustments we need to fit the budget, and then get that into play as well, hopefully next year. And then the elementary playground equipment also will be coming in front of you this evening for approval. The design team has narrowed that down, finalized it, and will be coming to board for recommendation. With that, I'll turn it back over to Paul to take you through where we're at closing things out here. So.
Thank you, sir. So the best part about everything that's under construction now, all the new construction spaces will be complete for the fall of '23. So again, to Alan's point, we want to get everything done by July. That allows furniture, technology, teachers, the comfort level to move in, so we're not painting over, let's say, Labor Day weekend going forward. Some of the next scope of work that you'll see as a board, and also some new board members in January and February, is the interiors. So again, over at Eastover, which is at East Hills site, Lone Pine at West Hills, Way, and Conant, there's a phase 2 interiors. This would be some of the flooring, ceilings, things of that nature that will take place also in the fall of '23, but also come back in the summer of '24, again, once kids are out, to redo some of those finishes. So the good news is all the new construction will be done. You'll be able to reconfigure to the K5, 6, 8, 9, 12 models going forward. And then, so again, as Alan mentioned, I'm not going to read through these, but we have accelerated several projects. Again, we're trying to beat escalation. More importantly, we're trying to get the spaces for the students in the community sooner than was originally anticipated. So again, kudos to French Associates, the Architect of Record, and Bart Battle Builders for their team effort going forward. Still a lot of work to do. So what does that look like for those next series of projects? So again, these are kind of right now, we call them the phase 2B. So again, you'll issue the second or the third series in the spring of '23. Question for you, International Academy. Right now, it's minimal bond scope. Can you use potentially some of those owner's contingencies for maybe classroom additions, maybe for some large group instructional spaces? Don't need a decision today, but those are some of the conversations that we want to bring to the board, working through Pat and the administration team, and ultimately the professional team we've assembled. So again, still a lot of work to go, but the good news is right now we're under budget and on schedule. So with that, if anyone's out there watching, please go to the district's website. Thank you to Karen Hughey and her team. And again, thank you to those board members. You're always very much appreciated. So with that, turn over to President Van Gerwen.
Questions? I guess we can start with Lisa. Howard?
3 minutes, Howard. I had to.
So I have some questions for you guys and then some questions for the superintendent. Could you go to the construction cost update? So I'm noticing that some of the commitment numbers are higher than the forecast.
Correct.
I'm trying to understand the logic behind that.
So what ends up happening is on the forecast, you've got your 200 million, 155. That's why it's important you sell that third series to really, because right now some of those design processes will be greater than the 114 million that you currently have in place.
No, what I'm saying is this. The forecast column, as an example, professional fees. We're forecasting that at 12.5, but we've committed, through purchase orders, I'm assuming, 13.4. How can we be forecasting something which the lifetime cost, which is less than how much we've actually committed in a purchase order?
Right, so the good news about that is when we have the 10% contingency awarded, you may not spend all 10% contingency at that time of award. So again, if you come in at 5 or 6%, that 4%, that does get readjusted with your professional fees with French.
So the 10% we actually put in the purchase order as opposed to just approving, I would imagine we would approve the 10%, but you wouldn't have actually given that in a purchase order to the supplier.
To the architectural, that's the way the contract's set up, but then again, you're taking back whatever percentage of construction contingency you don't spend. So
Okay.
again, it's more of a reconciliation that takes place when you get towards the end of a project.
So we're expecting the commitment of 13.4 to come down to 12.5. Okay. But then on a less major basis, you've got closing fees and contingency of 266 forecasted, but committed of almost 300,000.
That's correct. So part of that will be that third series. So I think when Mr. Crowley was here, along with Ms. Blanchett, there was a additional cost for that third series, but again, it would offset that amount that you're looking at escalation and things of that nature.
What you're saying is the committed is overstated, and we will get back down to 266. And then the third, along that same exact line, is on the abatement. We've committed and actually spent 200,000, but we have in our forecast 0. So that needs to be adjusted.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's kind of the bookkeeping piece of it. You foreshadowed the turf conversation we're going to have in a little bit. It appears that, what was in our forecast for that, or forecast in budget for the turfs?
The actual line item itself?
It's like $1 million.
Well, no, I'll tell you, it was $2 million
$2
for the actual work, and then plus the extras is another million.
Today, we're only coming in front of you for the procurement of the turf.
Exactly.
And the turf installation only.
Yeah.
It
So
does not include any of the site work that's out to bid at this point.
So the direct cost was 1.4 for the baseball and 600,000 direct cost for the softball, so it's about $2 million in total. So other than the contingencies and escalations in the direct costs, are there more direct costs that are coming for those?
That would be the site work that's surrounding the field itself, so it's the drainage, some of the other materials that are not part of the
Could that be up to $1 million?
Yes, we actually did 6 different fields last 2 years. Most districts go through the omni purchase for the materials piece. It's usually a 50-50 split with that perspective.
So what you're saying then is, so the amount in the budget of direct costs around $2 million, even though we're only being asked to approve about $1 million today, the $2 million is still a reasonable forecast?
Correct, yeah, we'll be back again in the springtime with the actual site work. And
Okay, so we're only seeing a piece of the whole thing.
The best part is that is a long lead item. So again, you maybe heard some stories from last summer. It was supposed to be in May. They had some issues with supply chains with the pellets that make the fibers. Fortunately, we had the forecast enough to work with other districts to purchase it through consortiums. So again, it's ready, available to be shipped, and then it's obviously labor to put it in. So.
And then, okay, so thank you very much. My questions to the superintendent is the gentleman alluded to the owner's contingency. And, I'm a little disappointed that we aren't able to have that conversation. We were told about 6 months ago that we would have it by the end of the year. Now it's going to get into 2023. So, we've got $5 million. This board is going to be asked in a few months to talk about sinking fund increasing millages. So as we get into that conversation, we want to look at that $5 million and possibly any additional savings that Plant Moran Cressa can find for us as the owner's rep. So you mentioned the IA as a possibility. And again, that should be the board decision as a team of 8 to try to figure out how that money gets allocated. But again, I'll say what I've been saying for a while now of talking about the Innovation Center and robotics / FIRST and STEM. I think that is a definite, we've had that discussion for almost 8 to 10 years now. Are we any closer to actually getting cost estimates for what it would take in the different alternatives, and then bringing that back to the board to make a decision in terms of, like we did with the transportation building, in terms of different places that it could go and trying to get some budgetary numbers? Are we any closer to getting that Innovation Center number nailed down, or numbers nailed down, so the board can make a decision on that?
So in the final draft of the capital improvement plan, there'll be 3 options with 3 different cost points.
For that Innovation Center? Oh, thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. And then finally, for the superintendent, I hope that the 3 board members who are going to be leaving this evening will be invited back for the ribbon cutting this summer.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, sir.
We'll make sure of it.
Bring your hard hat.
Yep. Or my hard head.
Okay, just a comment, just to piggyback on what you said, Paul and Howard just now. And please, I know I've said it so many times before, but I'm going to use my last opportunity at this table to say it again. And deliberately in front of 2 of our new board members, the Traub building was left out of this bond with an end run around the board. And it is an elementary building. Our 4 other elementary buildings are getting $12 to $13 million. And we all know that the school, the program, whatever it is of long-term, critical, strategic, and financial interest to this district. And so I would beg all of you to consider taking whatever you can from the contingency and putting it into that building, which sorely needs it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Happy holidays.
Oh, David will be back up.
We'll see you in a minute.
All right, we are on to board business 12A. Do I have a motion?
Hi, Tina. Good evening.
Hi, Tina.
Hello. So just taking, did you call on me yet, Jen?
I was just wondering if I had a motion before we, or we're going to do that afterwards?
I move that the Board of Education approve the December International Academy Oklahoma campus budget revisions for fiscal year 2022-23 as detailed in the attachment. Below is a summary. I'll just read it real quick. The revenue of IA is $6,515,164. The expenditures, $6,390,962, for a net positive change in the fund balance this year of $124,202.
So thank you. The committee meeting that we had just 2 weeks ago, we discussed in detail the budget as well as the tuition for next year and some of the accelerated timing of coming to you with the International Academy Fund budget for the Oklahoma campus because of the consortium agreement deadlines that are there for all the participating districts. So nothing has changed from 2 weeks ago. I'm happy to address any questions related to approving this budget.
Any questions?
Is there a second? Second.
All right.
Second by Dr. Southward. Okay, fine.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, and congratulations to the three of you for your service. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I have a feeling I will see you around. And congratulations, Dr. Southward.
And don't you ever leave this district. Yes.
All right, on to B, approval to amend the International Academy Letter of Understanding. Do I have a motion?
I move the Board of Education as a participating school district in the International Academy Consortium approve the letter of understanding as presented.
Pat?
So the major change is just changing the stipend allocation for the staff members for some of the additional duties. So that's the major change. So it's being brought to all the consortium districts, Board of Educations for approval.
Second?
Yeah, I mean.
You want to ask him?
Jennifer and I were talking, we know that part of the contract is a reduction in the amount of hours post last hour of the day that teachers will be staying at school. How much less time will they be spending? That's worded so badly.
I can send you an email tomorrow morning. I don't want to give you the wrong number. I think I know what it is, but I need to check the letter of understanding to make sure.
Yeah, I don't have a frame of reference, but I know that Jennifer does, and seems kind of logical to me that giving some flexibility in, and compensating for it in a teacher contract for extra time before and after school is really beneficial. I'm not saying that it wasn't a good decision, whatever the amount was, but going forward, it might be something that, and I know we tried to and have to some extent replicated it with high school by having teachers available before and after school to students, but I think it's good for students to be able to have teachers that kind of hang around.
It's an important part of the culture of the school, beyond the academic benefit, which is clear. Without buses, the kids tend to stay because it's a nightmare getting out of there at 2:35. And so easily half the school stays, and they do things and they interact with the teachers, and it's hugely positive.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. C, approval of purchase of district playground equipment. Do I have a motion? Anyone?
I move that the Board of Education approve the purchase of new playground equipment for a not-to-exceed total of $1 million with 20% contingency, totaling $1.2 million to be paid by the bond and sinking funds. The board authorizes the superintendent and his designees to finalize the purchase details. Vendors being considered include Pentura LLC and Sinclair Recreation Game Time.
Second?
Okay. Mr. Golden?
Yeah, we have had multiple meetings with school leadership teams, including the principals, on this matter. We met as early as, or as late as this morning to kind of finalize some decisions. We ask that you guys, we are recommending the approval of the 1.2 million so we can move forward and finalize our vendor to go forward with all 4 elementary playgrounds.
Is this going to be a replacement of all playgrounds at all buildings?
No. So it's going to be a select pieces. A lot of what they have shown us recently is newer equipment that we like to mix in with the existing equipment and get rid of some of the older equipment as the time allows it. And so it will really be a good mixture of both new and used. The good thing is that between the 4 schools, it will be evenly spaced out money-wise for all 4 schools. And then we can decide upper, lower, elementary, so on and so forth.
This is including, because I know we've got elementary schools that are moving to middle school buildings, this includes updating those equipments to make sure it's age appropriate, from what I understand, correct?
That is correct.
What about the Eastover situation at that building? Are we adding anything to the new preschool, or is that part of this?
Yeah, that's going to be another determination, because they, at their current Eastover building, they have some nice equipment, so we just have to see about moving costs and whatnot. But at East Hills, there will be a lower, you know, and same as West Hills, there will be a lower and upper playground area for the kids to enjoy.
This district has had a history and a culture of having the parents and the PTOs paying for playground equipment. That is really not an equitable way of handling things. So I hope this is setting the process in place for future, where the district has the responsibility of providing playground equipment. If parents want to upgrade over and above a standard that we have in the district for our playground equipment, which is also accessible for special education students, that would be fine, obviously. But we should not put the cost of playground equipment on the backs of parents. It's really a district responsibility.
Yeah, we talked about that this morning. As I mentioned, our goal is to have, if PTOs want to contribute to that, you know, they have select fixtures from a certain brand that they can choose from. And then, like you said, if they want to go above and beyond that, then we talk to Jake and his team and the school leadership to make sure it's the right fit for the school.
What about the stuff that's at Lone Pine right now? What are we doing with that?
Right now, the plan is just to keep that in place until further decisions have been made on that
Is
piece
there
of property.
the thought that that's going to go to other buildings?
Yes, obviously, from talking to Mary this morning, you know, that they would prefer to see it kind of on that side of town, but we really have to figure that out in the next steps. This is really to get, you know, the same types of equipment throughout the 4 schools, and then we kind of can start filling in and moving other equipment as needed.
And also, that would be a discussion as we go further, if the process goes further with West Bloomfield Parks and Rec, in terms of what happens with the Pine Lake facility.
There's like a 1970s, 80s.
Yeah, there's a killer spinny thing,
Like
and we can't lose it.
or what's it called?
Yeah.
Merry-go-round.
Yeah, where you hold on to it and you go, yeah.
I love those.
So,
Lisa.
one of the most fun things that I worked on as PTO president was helping to rebuild the Conant playground. We did a community build. Was there any discussion about doing that number one, to reduce some of the costs, but also just because it was fun?
Absolutely, but you know, with the new technology of playgrounds and stuff, they're a lot more complicated than they probably used to be, and you know, you really need to have them installed by the professional. Yeah,
do it.
You need to have them installed by the professional people who are licensed to do that, so they can get accredited.
We had those people there. We didn't just all
keep
show
them-
up and start digging.
No, it is fun, and I would love to do it
Or
too. Trust me.
insurance.
We had all that, I promise.
But yeah, they need to be installed by the people who are qualified to install them, unfortunately, at this point in time.
All right. Sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Golden. Oh, one more, sorry. D, approval of purchase of turf, including installation.
I move the Board of Education approve the purchase of turf and installation services for the baseball and softball fields at Bloomfield Hills High School to be supplied by Shore Sports Turf and Omnia Partners Purchasing, a cooperative organization, the amount of $895,755 plus a 10% contingency, totaling $985,330 to be funded. This is to be funded by the bond fund.
Second.
Questions?
I didn't read it.
Howard?
Mr. Superintendent, what are the benefits of doing this?
Safety is one, usability is the other. If it's not well, if you're looking at baseball purely, if it's not raining, you're playing your baseball game. But it provides the opportunity for other teams to go up and use it when baseball season's not in session. If we kept it as grass, you wouldn't want the football team in the outfield destroying the the baseball field. You wouldn't want the soccer team destroying the outfield. So it allows it to be playable all the time. If the band needed an opportunity to go out there and use that facility, they could go out and use it because, again, you're not going to ruin the grass. Also, for Jake's team, there's not the same amount of maintenance that is needed to maintain it. So you're not looking at adding any type of, say, fertilizer. You're not worried about having to irrigate it. You're not having to cut it. And so it saves time and some cost avoidance there as well.
Bloomfield Hills High School, which then became Andover, which became Bloomfield Hills High School again. We've had grass turf there for 60, 70 years. This board is being asked, and the community will be asked, for a millage increase, possibly for the sinking fund, because we have maintenance issues in building, roofs and parking lots and HVAC units that need upgrading and repairs. Personally, I don't feel in this and the wellness area, I feel that Trustee Matlow talked about the IA, and I talked about the STEM Center and the Innovation Center. I see a lot of other priorities that this district has that, quite frankly, in my mind, as one board member, is higher than something that we've been able to live with somehow, and many other districts in the state and in the country live with a turf baseball field and a grass baseball and softball diamond for decades and decades. So I am not, while this is a wonderful idea if we had the money, I really am not in favor of this at this point. I think we can use the funds in many other ways that will benefit kids, so I'll be voting against this.
Please also keep in mind the Health and Wellness Center, that's an instructional space. So it's a classroom during the day.
That hasn't come in front of us, and we as a district, we as a board really haven't had, this got approved in the bond, I understand, but we as a board really have, and Trustee Matlow mentioned it earlier, we really haven't had these discussions. This is the first time in turf that this board has ever really discussed it. And we've got approved, this got approved by the board in January of 2020 as a big $200 million lump. And this is the first time, really, we've ever had this brought in front of us as a discussion item. So anyway.
I remember discussing it earlier than now.
So I will be voting against this.
Right, but it is a part of the bond.
That's true, but we can
part of the
prioritize
bond paperwork, like what was presented in the bond.
I understand. And there are different ways of thinking about that. Yes, it was part of the bond, but at this time, I think there are other priorities that are more important than this.
I'm of the opinion that if we don't spend the money on what we said we were going to spend it on, that we should give it back to the community, so that we don't have the authority to pick and choose what to spend it on when we put it to the community that we were going to use it on specific items. And so I believe that we should either vote to approve what we said we were going to do or return the funds to the community. Those are our options.
That's well said, I agree.
Okay. Vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And a no?
Nay.
All right, motion passes 6-1.
I will point out the fact that all of these particulars were not subject to board input whatsoever. They were just handed to us after the fact, at which point, here we are. So that involved almost no one who's currently in the room, but it was a terrible MO at the time. So just cautionary tale for big projects going forward.
So in the future, as we go forward with any capital expenditures that especially are going to go to the voters. The board should fully go through all the detail and really have the, just like you talked about, safety and usability. That should have been documented. That should have been shown to us and the community in that level of detail. It was kind of all lumped together, and it was impossible to really look at this level of detail back 2-3 years ago. So in the future,
Question
lessons learned.
before you leave, Mr. Goldman. What, do you know, going back to C, what percentage or how much of the money is coming from the bond and how much is coming from the sinking fund?
I do. In regards to the playground, there was $860,520 coming from the bond, and including the contingency, $339,480 from the sinking fund.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I just want to say too, I have to say this for anyone who might be watching and for our new trustees, we got 150 pages of a binder listing everything from turf to the icon that was going to be on the turf.
After the fact.
Right, but after the numbers were solidified.
We had already voted on it before, and then
Yeah, we approved the amount of the bond. We did not approve the distributions of the amounts of the bond.
So I guess to Howard's point, and this is why at the last meeting, I wanted to punt the sinking fund discussion to the new board. So, to get sort of the detail, if we're going out for X amount, we probably should get that detail so we know eventually what the voters will be approving, what will be spent on.
And I think we actually got like 150 pages about 2 months ago, which detailed, in excruciating detail. We can all, you guys can discuss it, but we got that a few months ago, and now you're going to vote in a month or two. That's great. In this, for the bond, it was the other way around.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you made the distinction that we did also receive about, maybe it was 130 pages, something close to 150 for the bond, a separate 150 pages of information.
Oh, yeah,
The one with the sinking fund is the second set we've received.
Correct. But we got the, as I said, we got the, and I have the book, I look at it all the time, and I quoted it even tonight. We got it in February of 2020, and we had the board meeting in December of '99, and then, or in 2019, and then the final decision board vote was to go to the May ballot in January of 2020, and we got that detail in February.
But again, getting back, which I think Lisa agrees with, to Jonathan's point, it was outlined when we went out to the community who voted yes overwhelmingly on the bond. They did have the detail on a website of what it would be spent on, and that's what they ultimately voted for.
But we also, in the proposal also, it said that we were going to go and buy a $3 million piece of property off-site for the transportation center. We've now decided to reprioritize that, say, no, we'll do that on a district property and save $3 million and spend that somewhere else. We can move some numbers around. It's not inviolate that whatever we said is locked in amber and can't be changed.
Okay. Moving on to E, when we were in closed session, we completed the 2022 superintendent evaluation. We'll turn it over to Siva for synopsis.
Thank you, John. The single most responsibility for the board is really hiring the superintendent and measuring his or her effectiveness in meeting the goals set by the board. So for this year's evaluation, the evaluation is really split into 3 buckets. 50% of the rating is for professional practice, which includes 5 topics: instructional leadership, staff relations, community relations, board relations, governance, and then business and finance. So that's 50%. 40% is focused exclusively on student growth, which is really a combination this year of MSTEP and FastBridge scores. And then the last 10% is really measuring focus on district goals, whether it be improving student proficiency from one quarter to the following year, completing a student, parent, and staff survey, communication assessment, security plan, JEDI plan, and a capital needs assessment. So that last chunk was 10%. So we discussed the progress on all of these metrics with the superintendent, and I would like to announce that the superintendent was rated highly effective by the board. So I move that the Bloomfield Hills Board of Education adopt the completed year-end evaluation of the superintendent, Patrick Watson, pursuant to Michigan law, including 1249 and 1249B of the revised school code, and has rated him highly effective for the 2022 calendar year.
Second. And I just want to add the clarifying detail that Superintendent Watson scored 93 out of 100 possible points, highly effective being 90 or above. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Last item on the agenda is the superintendent contract. Superintendent Watson asked that we send over the contract just to add 2 years to the contract. It was sent over to our attorney, Dana Abrams. Her staff made those amendments. They were just sent back yesterday. However, the only thing that's been changed on the contract is to move in last year's addendum into the body of the contract and to change the year from 2023 to 2025.
So that's in paragraph 1?
That is in paragraph 1.
Gotcha.
So,
I move that the Board of Education approve the superintendent's employment agreement through December 31st, 2025 as presented.
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those not in favor? Motion passes 7-0.
All right. Do we have to say adjourn?
We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you again, Jennifer, Lisa, and Howard.